You got WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series. They're the big four. Money in the Bank may not be in that league yet, but it's definitely a WWE tentpole event, and it's an event where certain matches on the card may affect storylines for months to come. So it's important. And it's this Saturday in Toronto. Who's going to win? Well, these are my predictions for the 2024 Money in the Bank. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for notifications for all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown, opinion videos, and of course, predictions. Look at my shirt. What do you see? Someone who's definitely going to be at Money in the Bank, even though he's officially not on the card. More on that later. So, WWE Money in the Bank, the premium live event, is this Saturday in Toronto. Let's get started with the predictions. In the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have last year's winner, Io Sky, Lyra Valkyria, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, Zoe Stark, and Chelsea Green. Off the bat, I'm just going to disqualify the three women from Raw. Now, don't get me wrong. I could definitely see Zoe Stark or Lyra Valkyria really benefiting or needing this kind of push that the Money in the Bank briefcase gives you. And it would be really fun if Io Sky held the briefcase and cashed in on a championship 2 years in a row. I also think the three of them being in the match is great because after all, it is a ladder match. It's going to be a really fun match to watch. But I look at who they're going to cash in on. Yes, it's true. The Money in the Bank winner can cash in on any champion from any brand, but they usually stick to their own brand. And I just don't see the Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley storyline needing or at all wanting a third wheel with a Money in the Bank briefcase. So it's definitely the Bayley storyline, the Nia Jax storyline. So let's look at the three competitors from SmackDown. Let's start with Naomi. Now, I could see Naomi winning. It would actually be really fun if she turned heel right after she won. Bayley comes down to congratulate her, and then she thanks Bayley. She hits Bayley with the briefcase, cashes in 1, 2, 3, new champion. That would be one of the most hilarious, brutal heel turns I've ever seen. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think Naomi might eventually turn heel, but for the time being, we're down to the other two. Now, I had originally thought Tiffany Stratton was going to win. This was even before any of the qualifiers had been announced or any of the people in the qualifying matches had even been announced. I just thought that this is the kind of thing that she needs right now because she definitely, I think, will be a champion in her first year on the main roster. There's no women's mid-card title, so the only way you can really do that is with Money in the Bank, and Tiffany Stratton is definitely someone headed for that level. I kept thinking that right up until Chelsea Green qualified because I love Chelsea Green. I would love the wild card aspect of Chelsea Green holding that briefcase as a looming threat over anyone. But ultimately, I think Chelsea might be a tag champ again. And maybe if there ever is a women's mid-card title, she might win that. Or she might win a championship or Money in the Bank next year. But this year, I think it is going to be my original pick, Tiffany Stratton. I think she's going to win. I think she's either going to maybe try and cash in on Bayley if she beats Nia Jax, or maybe even on Nia Jax. Maybe Nia Jax is going to help her out. There's a lot of back and forth storytelling there. I think she'd also have a really nice looking briefcase. She'd probably deck it out, be like all pink or something like that. Looking forward to that win. Sorry, Chelsea, but I'm sticking with Tiffany Stratton. In the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, we have LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, Carmelo Hayes, Chad Gable, main event Jey Uso, Yeet, and Andrade. Now, if this match is first on the card, it has potential major ramifications for the three non-ladder matches also on the same card on the same night. That's the two championship matches and the one where the undisputed WWE champion isn't defending his title, but could theoretically be put in a very vulnerable position. Usually, it's the women's Money in the Bank winner who cashes in night of or shortly thereafter, whereas the men's winner, it might take a while. They're sort of setting up for the reverse this time. So let's go through the competitors. Drew McIntyre. Now, we all want to see Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk at SummerSlam. The problem with him winning Money in the Bank and potentially winning the World Heavyweight Championship is the World Heavyweight Champion has to defend against Gunther at SummerSlam. And we don't want Drew versus Gunther. We want Drew versus Punk. Now, potentially Drew could win the match, try to cash in that very night, and Punk screws him over. I think it's more likely he comes very close to winning, but Punk screws him over at the last possible minute. So he doesn't win this match. Okay, let's look at some of the other people. There's main event, Jey Uso. Now, this will be the best marketing choice to win because Yeet in the Bank, I hope they could still print that briefcase even if he doesn't win. I think they might. I think he'd be a great winner, very popular. He's incredibly over. He will win a championship, and I don't think he will need or should need the Money in the Bank briefcase to do it. He's a babyface too, so he'd probably have to declare his challenge, as others have done in the past. And I don't see him going that route. I see him putting on a very strong show in the match, but ultimately not winning and still being incredibly over. Okay, so what about LA Knight? Yeah, well, I want him to face Logan Paul at SummerSlam. And I want him to face him without a briefcase needed to do it. I don't want him to have to use the briefcase to get the challenge. I want Logan Paul. I'm thinking Logan Paul is going to screw him over in this match, and that's going to set up their match at SummerSlam, which they've already been building to pretty clearly. And I hope LA Knight's going to become the United States champion at SummerSlam. Maybe he'll win Money in the Bank in the future year. Who knows? So I don't think he's going to win. As for Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, both of them would benefit greatly from a briefcase like this. They're both either getting a push or should get a push, and I could definitely see them being a good briefcase holder, except for the fact that they're on SmackDown. And yes, you can go on either brand, but I'm pretty sure they're going to stick to the champion on their brand. And the champion on their brand is Cody Rhodes. And I don't see Cody Rhodes losing to a cash-in. At least not this soon. At least not this year. I see him losing to somebody he's in a feud with. More on that later. But yeah, so that takes the two of them out. Which leaves my pick for the 2024 Men's Money in the Bank ladder match, Chad Gable. Yeah, the Wyatt Six may interfere. In fact, there may be some mist. He may get taken out of the match, and I think it's going to look like there's going to be another winner. Maybe Drew's going to win, but then Punk screws him over. Maybe Andrade or Carmelo, something like that. And then Gable just runs in and sneaks a victory. So my prediction for the 2024 Men's Money in the Bank winner, Chad Gable. For the Intercontinental Championship, the champion Sami Zayn defends against challenger Braun Breaker. This is going to be a haluva match. Sorry for my bad pun there. I think it's going to be a real barn burner. People are saying that maybe it's time to put the title on Braun Breaker. I'm a Sami Zayn supporter. I'm a Montrealer, and I don't want to see him lose the title. I guess I'd be okay if Braun won it and he went on to better things, but I think Sami Zayn's going to retain because while this is going to be an incredible match, it's going to be back and forth. Braun's going to almost dominate. Sami's going to come back. Braun's going to dominate. But I think there's going to be some funny business at the end. If you go with my other prediction, I think Chad Gable's going to hold the Money in the Bank briefcase, and he's not going to wait. He's going to be impatient. He's going to come in, and he's going to try and cash in during this match, make it a triple threat match. And Sami Zayn is eventually going to pin Chad Gable, pushing Gable out of the Intercontinental story for a while, potentially bringing him back in the future. He's going to go with the Wyatts, and that's going to also set up a rematch between Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker at SummerSlam, and that's going to be an even better match. Now, if Chad doesn't interfere or somehow doesn't end up properly cashing in or tries or something like that, I think Zayn's going to retain, and I think he might lose it to Breaker at SummerSlam. Who knows? But I think it's definitely time to give Braun Breaker a match like this, but it might not be the best time to have him with the championship. Maybe even SummerSlam might be a better time. Who knows? Which is why I think there's going to be some funny business, and Sami Zayn retains. In a 6-man tag team match, undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens take on the Bloodline. That's Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait, there's 7 guys I just mentioned. It's a 6-man match. It's obviously not going to be 4-on-3. So the first prediction we have to make after that little bit of theater with me pretending to actually count. Anyway, first prediction is who is going to sit it out on the Bloodline side and who's going to compete. Now, I think conventional thinking is that Jacob Fatu might sit this one out because he's the new guy. He's the enforcer. He's just going to stand outside of the ringside, something like that. I think no. I think Solo is going to sit it out. He's the pretender tribal chief, or he thinks he's the tribal chief now. He's sort of the tribal chief of this bloodline, and he's going to make his bloodline do the fighting for him. I think maybe like at Backlash, this might become a no DQ match or a street fight last minute. Who knows? Maybe they'll even announce that on SmackDown. Or maybe Cody's side might get a last minute member joining. Who knows? But I think it's going to be those three on those three. And it's going to be obviously very violent, very back and forth. I think that ultimately Randy Orton is going to get the pin on maybe one of the Tongas. That's going to be the official end of the match. He's going to get it because there's going to be a bit of a distraction because I think Roman Reigns is going to return, maybe with Jimmy Uso, who knows. That's going to lead to something. They're going to maybe fight off into the back. And ultimately, whether that happens or not, at the end of this match, what's going to set up is a split between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes. Maybe Kevin Owens gets taken out earlier in the match, so he's not part of this. Who knows? I think they might actually be going Randy versus Cody for the title at SummerSlam. They already set up Randy looking at the belt at Madison Square Garden, sort of giving it Cody the side eye. I think they're going to pull the trigger on that, and maybe also they're going to pull the trigger on Roman Reigns. But I think ultimately it's going to be the baby faces winning, but it's going to be Randy Orton getting the pin and then turning heel. That's my kind of outlandish prediction for this potentially very outlandish match. For the World Heavyweight Championship, the champion, El Campeon, Damian Priest versus the challenger and former champion, Seth freaking Rollins. Or in other words, for the chance to walk into SummerSlam as the World Heavyweight Champion and lose it to Gunther. Yeah, I think that's really where my prediction is going to come from. It's based on who I want facing Gunther at SummerSlam. And I want Seth Rollins to face Gunther. Why? Because Gunther is still a heel. I think he might be a babyface going into Bash in Berlin, but he's definitely got to be a heel at SummerSlam. And with Seth Rollins as his opponent, there's really a chance that people might want to back Rollins. And Rollins, I think, could put on an incredible match and be a believable opponent to beat Gunther. Also, Rollins holding the championship for such a long time, being the inaugural champion, losing it at Mania, winning it back and losing it a month later. Maybe he'll have a defense on Raw in the middle or something like that. We don't know. But that's fine. It's not going to hurt Seth Rollins. He's just going to have to go on to other things. After losing to Gunther, maybe he'll have a rematch with Gunther. Who knows? Damian Priest winning. Priest versus Gunther, I don't really see it happening. I see it being like Gunther might even become the babyface, unless Priest somehow becomes babyface of this match by leaving Judgment Day. I think he is going to become a babyface, and maybe it's going to happen in this match. Maybe Judgment Day is going to interfere and somehow it screws things up. Maybe they're going to outright turn on him. Who knows? Now, there is the Drew McIntyre factor. I already predicted that McIntyre is going to get screwed over in the ladder match by CM Punk. But let's say that doesn't happen. He's going to come into this match, maybe make it a triple threat, and I think Punk's going to screw him over maybe to save Rollins. And that actually adds a whole other dimension to the whole Punk-Drew thing, because if he's actually helping Seth Rollins, maybe Seth Rollins is going to start to see Punk in a different light. Who knows? I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, regardless, I think Seth Rollins is walking out of Toronto as World Heavyweight Champion. And those are my predictions for the 2024 Money in the Bank Premium Live event. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you agree with some? Do you agree with parts of some? Because it was a pretty convoluted story I wove here. You kind of have to with all the storylines going on. Please let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Wrestling on X, at SVS Reviews on Instagram and Facebook, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, ring that bell for notifications to be notified, among other things, for my Money in the Bank review video. This is a PLE I'm definitely looking forward to. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.